Ah, it is working. The camera just paused for like 30 seconds there. Didn't think it was going to start. How's it all going? It's still the 18th of the 2nd, which is February 2018. And I am beat, so it's a good thing. It's only 8:38 p.m. at the moment. Went out for a bit of a stroll. Didn't go too far tonight. Pretty much because I'm buggered. I haven't got out and mowed some lawn this evening when it cooled off sufficiently, and it's still hot, humid, and sticky, and I don't feel that great, to be honest. Lack of sleep can do that to a bloke. So I am still trying to do this video response I said I'd do, but I'll just take a quick moment to discuss this evening's beautiful celestial events, you might say. So as I walk out the door, the stars hadn't quite come out yet. It was just at that time of twilight, and as I turned around to look behind me where I'm going, this beautiful crescent moon, lovely sliver of moon, because the new moon of course was 2 days ago when I made that Happy New Lunar Year, because that's the Chinese New Year. They do it according to the new moon at this time of year. So now we can see it. I didn't see it yesterday, but admittedly I didn't go out and look, so that could explain it. It's a shame because I might have actually seen the tiniest of slivers just before sunset if I was lucky, but tonight was really tiny little sliver. So you've probably got a chance, you people, if I get this uploaded in time in other parts of the world who are many hours behind us, where you've still got your sun up, you might get a chance to see it yourself. And have a look where the sun sets. Have a look at the angle of light on the moon, and think to yourself that if they're both more or less at the same height, more or less, I don't know which is higher, which is lower, but think that makes perfect sense why that part of the moon is lit where it is due to sunlight. It's a really simple thing anybody can do, flat earthers and globers alike. Like, doesn't matter which you believe, it's the same thing. These people from the flat earth side telling me it's self-illuminated, I'm so over hearing that, and I'm going to drum it in with nearly every video I make that the moon is not self-illuminating, so stop sprouting nonsense. Thank you. So the Southern Cross came out where it always does. It was a little bit further east perhaps tonight because I was out there so early watching it as it started coming into view. Orion, which just a few weeks ago was directly overhead, is now slightly further off to the northwest, like quite significantly now, where it's definitely noticeable. So I've never said, somebody that claimed that I said the constellations stay the same all year round. No, the constellations themselves do stay the same in appearance, but they're moving all the time. The Southern Cross, however, I always see in the south, sometimes a little bit more east than west. You know, it does move a bit, but it certainly doesn't fit the model where when I'm on the other side of the sun looking 180 degrees the other way, that, you know, it should be totally behind somewhere, miles, you know, millions and millions of miles away. 108, 190, hang on, 93 and 93, 186 million miles away. Even though the journey we've taken to get there is probably double that because we're going in a big circle, which, it was so nice out there tonight. The earth was so flat and still. Not flat, very undulating, very hilly as always, but so perfectly still. It's just like, how can you possibly even begin to think that the entire earth is spinning at 1,040 miles per hour at the equator? That's the sun speed of the sun. It makes sense that the sun is what's moving 1,040 miles per hour, not us. We see the sun moving. We don't have to use the theory of relative motion, or relativity, however you want to call it, to try and understand that. You know, that's why this whole special theory of relativity was invented, because Einstein could detect no motion of the Earth, just like hundreds and thousands of other scientists who have tried to find it, nobody has detected motion of Earth. So if they can't do it, Occam's razor says it don't exist. So don't believe in fantasies and special relativity and dark energy and dark matter to make gravity work, to stop everything colliding and falling too far away from each other. It's so much simpler to just look at density and buoyancy and say, that's why things fall down, because air is not dense enough to support things of mass with sufficient ability to, some things of mass don't have enough, or they have too much air resistance, like a plastic bag, it'll get fluttered around in the wind, but it's still left to its devices without any wind, it will just fall down. So it is dense enough. Somebody commented elsewhere, I haven't even bothered responding to it yet, that because air gets less dense further up, shouldn't we be falling up? It's like, oh God, no, please. No, we're still denser than air. We're still going to fall through it regardless. It's some people, honestly, the way they think and try and twist things. So the first response I'm going to get to back on Wolfie's YouTube channel, I shouldn't scroll away, I'll just stay here, is by a person called M. Peterson6, 5 hours ago. Ross Thatcher. This is one I ignored before because it's hard to respond to them all, and I'm going to do my best to get to as many as I can now. Ross never apply the words logic, common sense, critical thinking, analysis, or experiment to any argument or statement related to supporting a flat Earth. See what I mean? We've got to just believe in the heliocentric model, believe in what thousands of scientists cannot prove, but all philosophize about due to a few desert-wandering ancient Greeks who measured shadows of sticks in the ground. Come on. This is what flat Earth is all about, using all those things, you fucking idiot. Pardon my English. Every single statement you've made here is an unfounded supposition. Built out of pure wishful thinking, they are nothing more than word salad. FEs love to scream parrot, yet all they do is parrot idiots and charlatans who should be sporting a red ball for a nose, a blue pair of pyjamas, flaming red hair and oversized shoes. You know, like Bozo the Clown. Well, Mr. M. Peterson 6, you're a fucking moron, mate. That's the whole trouble. You haven't actually addressed anything I've said. You've just told me it's an unfounded supposition without even addressing a single thing. You've just assumed because you like to make an ass out of you and every other fucker that believes in the frickin' globe. Yeah, we like to scream parrot because we think for ourselves. We don't just parrot what we heard from go read a science book, go back to school. Nah, fuck that. Think for yourself. Be independent. Be strong. Investigate everything. Use judgment, critical thinking and logic. So, F to you, mate. You're done. Pan to Pam, he's a wanker. It's clear to me that you can't explain anything about the ad hoc movement of the sun, nor can you make any valid predictions about day length, sunrise and sunset directions, how dark it will be during midnight, etc. I'm not surprised though. I challenged you to make actual predictions using your model and you completely omitted that. The reason to anyone with a half brain should be clear, because you're utterly incapable of it. It's not only about your incompetence, it's also because the idea of flat Earth is outdated rubbish. I think I addressed this one before. No, it's modern science. Outdated rubbish is globe. Get over it. Star trails, this one. Elenesna. Star trails would be oval on a flat Earth except at the exact North Pole. Simple logic. No. That is dumb ass bullshit. There's no reason why the stars aren't doing what they do on the flat Earth. That is what they do. That is what we see and observe, can record, measure, take pictures of, because that's how it is. Because the Earth isn't moving. It is flat and stationary. The stars are the ones spinning around, and if that's what we see, That's how it is. No need to invent anything else. If we're on a globe, on the other hand, and you try and take time-lapse photography with a camera at a fixed point, like at Polaris, assuming you're on the ball spinning, how the hell are you going to be keeping it fixed on Polaris anyway? Oh, it's so far away, and you're at the right angle. Okay, let's say you've got that. Still, every other star around it making perfect circles while you're on a ball going around and around trying to keep fixed on a star. You can't keep fixed on a star on a spinning ball. Show me on a model, a camera fixed to a globe, how it can focus on a fixed point to start with. Everything that it focuses on, or everything that it captures as the globe spins, unless you're directly at the pole, is going to be lines, straight lines, all the way, nothing but lines. There will be no clear, perfect circles of stars going around as we see and witness. Now, so many people use that as proof of the globe, that this could only happen if Earth were a spinning ball. No, it absolutely could not happen if Earth were a spinning ball, unless you were directly at the pole. So do some experiments and prove that unfounded statement, you morons. I look at Orion all winter and observe how it goes more and more west every day until I don't see it anymore all summer. So something must be wrong with your observing skills. Not at all. I just explained that at the beginning. I see Orion all summer, and at winter time it does tend to disappear, but to the northwest, which is probably why you start to seeing it in your winter in the north. Quads Phaera. No, the fact is light is very well understood. You might not understand it, but don't impart your ignorance on others. Yeah, that's the one I addressed in my previous one. So we'll scroll down a bit here. Spheroidal Master. I actually wrote him a response here, so I might just leave that one. Oh, how's your time going? Yeah. So a lot of these I addressed already. Sasilic says, Ross Thatcher, it is not possible that atmosphere has such magnification effect. I guess you have absolutely no knowledge about sun or telescopes, and you just sit down, look at the sun and make up whatever feels like. Because you can observe sun quite well from the ground with good telescope. Just search solar telescope with search engine. For example, lunarsolarsystems.com has quite good gallery, and amateur astronomer Dave Tyler has also good gallery at davidtyler.com. Sun flares are also a known thing, and if telescope sees some big flare, then it is known that after a day or two we are hit with solar wind and we can see auroras. After a day or two. I thought on your heliocentric model it was only 8 minutes before the sunlight reached us. Oh, but I guess it's the flare, so we've got to wait for the flare to flare specifically to Earth. You know, it's not going to have anything to do with the rest of the universe surrounding us. It's just specifically because we saw it. Yeah. What nonsense. I'm not going into that anymore. Quads Phaera. Wow. Sorry, you looking up at the sky, walking your dog, us not measuring anything. Us not measuring? No. Typos. Okay. I'll try to read it without the typos. I see you completely ignored the almanac. If you bother to look, you world see stars portions have shifted by fractions of a degree over hundreds of years. Hundreds. Hundreds. No, oh, I thought there was an R in hundreds. Shit. Can't help myself. Too bad you haven't seen what you want to see in a human lifetime. Mate, I'm fucking immortal. Stars haven't changed. Look at the Great Pyramids of Giza, how they still align with Sirius to this day. 100% perfectly at the particular time of the day. Yeah, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head which it is, whether it's an equinox or a solstice or something, but it aligns perfectly. There's been no change, as proven by the Egyptians. By the way, I haven't seen the Southern Cross in months, and when I did, it was almost overhead. No, the Southern Cross is always in the south, so you're looking at something else. There is another constellation that I often see that resembles it slightly, which can be overhead and a bit more towards the east as well, but it's not the Southern Cross, so you probably don't even know what you're looking at, you moron. I see you argue from a postion of personal incredulity. No, I argue because I'm knowledgeable. Oh, he posted that one twice. What an intelligent person. He's come back for another go. All the high altitude curve you want. One camera fisheye, the other non-fisheye if you want. No, he's posted a link. I'm not going to look into that just now. Adnuradnam Pramudita. Ross Thatcher, so do you believe that stellar parallax exists? Last time I know, F-ears don't believe it. Using sensors to draw a conclusion is not wrong, but ignoring the inherent limitation in them is an indication of ignorance. Do your eyes have the required resolution to detect stars' proper motion? Are you familiar with the case of Barnard's star, Aquila? Stars move and constellations change, my friend. Absolutely they do, not a problem. My limited knowledge about light doesn't prevent me from understanding why night exists. Night is when most of sun's light doesn't fall on us, simple as that. Exactly, that's how it works on the flat earth. On the globe, the sun is still streaming past the whole planet. We're just this tiny little dot. As I keep trying to say now, this is my new smoking gun. That we wouldn't have night sky at all because, okay, Earth is really big from our perspective, but it's really, really tiny on the cosmic scale. So the sunlight streaming past us would still be not allowing us to see the stars, if that were the case. I have the suspicion that you base your understanding on our ability to see light beam from flashlight. If you do, then please realise that light scattering in outer space is minimum, if any. See, well, that's my point. I keep saying light scattering in outer space is minimum, if any, because it only exists when it hits our atmosphere. That's what I've proven, and I wrote a really good response to another. In fact, I'm going to read that one now, if it's there. I'm just going to refresh that one because this is a really, I think, pertinent comment that I made. So while it's loading up, I'll have a drink break.
Good morning.
Oh, it's got a thumbs up now. Wow, 24 views. Come on, comments later. So Seraph64 says, so you are bad at understanding real science, confused by big numbers like the size of the Earth on the lower range to the distance and size of the Sun on the upper range. And what? You think the actual tilt of the Earth rotates every what period? Psst, it's 41,000 years. That's approximately 2,000 generations. It means that if you start with the axis tilted towards the Sun, it will be tilted away from the Sun 6 months later when the Earth is at the other side of the Sun. So what the hell is he talking about with this 40,001 years bullshit? Beats the shit out of me. Though I get that's extremely hard to understand something with a huge bias against it, it's worth the effort to apply oneself and learn without presuppositions. That's my whole point. I try to debunk everything about the flat Earth to begin with. I don't believe in it because I don't want to believe in the globe. You know, it took months and months before I really started to think, shit, it really is flat and stationary. Because I know all this crap about the globe. I know it all. So you people come preaching to me and trying to tell me it all. That's like, grow up. I know. I know exactly how the heliocentric model works. I know that it's at the opposite tilt from 6 months because it's tilted here at this side, sun in the middle, tilted there at that side, which gives the so-called seasons. That's the globe model. I know that really inside and out. The tiny Earth blocked the light because it's not spread out. The sun is so far away that the light that reaches us, a 1/1 billionth of the sun output, is in pretty much parallel beams. You can test this by using a laser that produces a straight beam of light and an obstruction like a ball head pin, and you'll see how it produces a shadow. Light and optics is quite a complex subject. If you want to learn about it, I recommend you to watch Physics 8.02 by Walter Lewin, MIT, Lecture 26 and on. The entire course is on YouTube for free. Tim Landers put in a pretty good response here, but it wasn't there when I responded, so I'll just quickly read mine. Seraph64, wow, a whole bunch of generalizations and assumptions there. Conversely, it's the heliocentrist who generally lacks a true understanding of the outlandish big numbers claimed and phenomenal speeds, all while zero motion has ever been detected. I have no idea what you mean by axial tilt rotation. Are you suggesting polar flip? 41,000 years for an unproven theory? You'd better expand on that. The actual tilt is entirely irrelevant to my point anyway. I'm well aware in the ancient superstitious cult model that it would be directly opposite tilt every 6 months. You guys certainly do love your sixes, considering you give us an actual tilt of 66.6 degrees in the first place. The point is, irrespective of any tilt, only half the globe is in direct sunlight at any time, and irrespective of those rays being parallel, those rays are also spreading throughout the entire universe as well. Earth is not the special snowflake, despite the amount of worship the true believers give to the sun, Lucifer. We were even shown how sunlight produces a mere 70-mile wide shadow from the moon during a solar eclipse, seriously suggesting that any shadow the Earth could produce would be significantly smaller than the Earth itself. Which would mean that in accordance with what I've been saying all along, the light does not exist until it reaches our atmosphere, even on the globe model. Otherwise, the entire night sky would be illuminated, except for a tiny shadow we would barely notice, as there would be nothing except maybe a few faraway stars, too far away to be affected by such an insignificant shadow. Oh, the sun most definitely does not illuminate the Earth like a laser. Really poor example to use here. So in conclusion, if it's proven that sunlight only exists when it hits our atmosphere in the globe model, we can surmise that the sun we are seeing isn't the sun at all, but a much distorted image of it, with the size only attributed to the aspects of the atmosphere and not the size and distance of the sun itself, which answers why it doesn't shrink or expand even though we're supposed to be on an elliptical orbit. Therefore, on the flat Earth, we can use this to expand our knowledge as to why the sun can pass around over us without any size distortion due to perspective and distance, because it obviously cannot exist without the atmosphere to, for want of a better term, harness the light and render it visible. So that is what all flat earthers have now come to the understanding of, that the atmosphere is where the light begins, and the atmosphere's height never changes, and our relative distance to the atmosphere, no matter how much we're looking through from our position due to perspective, is very insignificant compared to what we would think the sun itself might actually be if it was very, very far away. We would expect it to shrink as it disappeared over our horizon, but because it only exists because of the atmosphere, our view of it anyway, it appears the same size the entire time. And because our ground horizon has risen up to obscure it once it gets far enough away, it appears to shrink bottom first without any shrinkage. So I'll get back to the other ones now because I didn't want to focus too much on that. I haven't got many minutes left. Yeah, let's see what Da Idiot says. Welp, that does it. The idea to start my own archive of the stupidest FE claims I've seen has been floating around in my head for some time. Now I've heard that under globe helio we wouldn't have night time, and that was a tipping point. That has become my first entry in my archive. Oh, what derp I shall harvest. Go for it, mate. You're most welcome. You heard it here first. From the point of view of a satellite image, there will always... Oh, this is Sardot addressing me. I said, from the point of view of a satellite image, there will always be a top and bottom side of the image. You made that up. No, that's just how we see images. You see them, top, bottom, left, right. Whatever you look at, I would like to see a real photo showing a boat actually appearing to be sideways or upside down from the perspective of the photographer, quoting me. Turn the photo whichever way you want. The satellite that took it does not care which way you think is up. Or Google Costa Concordia. Well, yeah, I agree. That's entirely true. But from the perspective of the viewer, there is always a top and bottom. Moving on. Zombie Wolf. In my opinion, all flat earth conversations should begin with this following issue. The conversation is dominated by discussions about theory, but theory has to be tested. Which model and which map has passed the test? Flat earth belief is predicated on the odd idea that the map of the world is unknown and downright mysterious, but people have been travelling between the continents for hundreds of years. It's now a mundane activity. Well, let me just interject here. The very first person who suggested to me that the earth is flat was my ex-father-in-law, after he'd spent a lifetime as a merchant sea captain. He'd retired. He might have spent 20 odd years in stevedoring in Newcastle, but for the remainder of 10 years before he retired, he went back to sea. He has a pilot's license as well. He's a highly educated, highly intelligent man. And when he sat down, we were sitting there having breakfast one morning, and he says to me, you know, I've looked and done everything I can come to conclude is the Earth is flat. Now, I thought it was the most ridiculous thing I'd ever heard, but I kind of took it in a sense because I'd been suggesting a concave Earth for a couple of decades myself, just as a philosophical concept how it could be possible. Like if planes fly higher, they're flying a much lesser distance than if they're on the outside of a globe, where they'd be flying a much further distance, which would increase flight time and fuel expenditure and everything, so it would make a bit of sense. And my only explanation for gravity was the spinning bucket theory, how the water stays in because of this centripetal force pushing it out, and so that would explain why we've got flat water on the Earth, because it's all been pushed outwards, and why rain falls down, it's because it's getting forced outwards. So when he told me flat, I just couldn't picture it, because it's like everybody, when you first hear it, the cognitive dissonance hits in, and all you can think of is, yeah, but we're in outer space, how can the Earth be flat? That's what you're basically trying to come to terms with when you realise that it's just the sheer physical body, flat bottom of the universe, the only physical place of existence. There are no other physical bodies in the entire universe, just shimmering lights. That's when it starts to make sense, but it takes a lot of investigation. Have you thought about all of the naval history of the last 500 years? How many commercial voyages were there in the 16th century, the 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th? How many military voyages? How many yachts, cruise ships, pirates? Yeah, how many exactly? Did any of them ever feel themselves going over a curvature? No, they all sailed on flat, level water. As of January 2016, there were 51,405 ships in the world's merchant fleets. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to read all this one, it's too long and detailed. Yeah, hardly any of these. I wanted to find... Damn, where's all Wolfie's comments gone? I wanted to find all of Wolfie's. He put new ones in. Maybe I've scrolled past them already. Okay. Oh, I've already read that one. I'll have to refresh this page. Alright, 2 secs. Okay, the internet is a mysterious thing. Comments seem to come and go all the time, but I found one. So I'll quickly get into it. I'm going to run out of time, but no offence taken, Ross, because I know you're 100% wrong. Thanks, Wolfie. All you have to do with the satellite image is rotate it 180 degrees. Where's the top now? You can rotate any direction. Yeah, we've gone through that. You're still conceptualizing this like a child. Sorry, it's okay. You're just not understanding that there's always perspective, and you should be able to see the Earth from any angle and still see boats going upside down on the bottom of the planet if you're looking at the entire planet or the bottom half of the planet. That's just how you're going to see it from your point of view. Sure, you can flip it up, but anyway. No, the tracking of objects in the sky does not work on the flat Earth at all. It's impossible to do so with a polar aligned single axis of rotation on a flat Earth. Talk is... I don't know why. Why is it? Polar aligned single axis of rotation on a flat Earth. The Earth is still. What the stars are doing and what the stars are doing. I've mentioned that. Talk is cheap, Ross. I hear flat earthers talking all the time, but they can't demonstrate it. I have a challenge running to all flat earthers to show me a working model of the flat Earth explaining the equinox sun angles and equatorial mounts. Guess what? Nobody can do it, can you? Like I said, talk is cheap. Show me how it works on a model. The same goes for your star trails comment. You are completely wrong again. No, I'm not. I know what I'm talking about. I've been through this a million times. I know what I'm talking about. On a flat Earth, you will never get circular trails from any location on Earth except the North Pole, nowhere else. No, that's not true at all, because they are far enough away that from wherever you look at them, you'll see them doing what they're doing. You can't do that on a globe. They'll be making straight lines on the globe. I've mentioned already. The fact we can see circles from any location on Earth proves the Earth is rotating. See, that's bullshit. You just don't get it. Again, this demonstrates your lack of ability to conceptualise in 3 dimensions. No. Try it again with a model. You cannot produce circular star trails all over a flat Earth. Just claiming you can is worthless. Demonstrate it. Well, I would if I could set up a model with a camera on the ground where the stars actually were rotating around above us. But that's what they do in reality. How can I make a model of that? You just go out and see the real thing. Wow, far out. P.S. How many high altitude balloon launches have you personally made? None. Have you just watched the cherry-picked images shown on Flat Earth channels? I've seen hundreds of them. Why not watch the full unedited version of The Little Piggy? Have you seen that one? Or this one? Plenty of curve. Are you familiar with the rules of evidence, Ross? First-hand testimony will trump hearsay any day. I see the curvature with my own eyes from the cockpit of a high-altitude aircraft and have photos to prove it. Did you launch any balloon yourself, or are you relying on what others are showing you? I'm relying on what others are showing me. Hundreds and hundreds of others. And I haven't seen any real pictures of the curvature. Have you checked to see how curved your windows are from your cockpit? Have you seen if there's any distortion on them? Any distortion on your camera? I'd like to see these pictures, sure enough. Show them to me. And then the next person quickly, Ferdinand Kraft, Ross Thatcher. The light from the sun itself doesn't actually exist until reaching a certain level of the atmosphere. You call this crap logical? I quickly responded, yes, I do see sun. Yes, absolutely. Do you see sunlight streaming past us at night? Earth is just a tiny dot compared to the size of the sun, our nearest star. I would strongly suggest this supports the idea that the sun is not nearly so massive nor distant as you heliocentrists believe it to be. Would you kindly show me some high altitude footage, non-CGI please, of the sun setting? That would be great. Anybody got any high altitude footage of the sun setting? I'd love to see it. Catch you next time.